taught that lying is wrong, right? It's a character flaw. But what if the real story is way more fascinating? What if deception is woven into the very fabric of life, from our earliest years to the world all around us?
So picture this. Your kids got chocolate smeared all over their face, and they look you right in the eye and deny eating a cookie. Your first instinct might be to worry, right? But what science is telling us is something else entirely. That little fib isn't a sign of some moral failing. It's a sign that something incredible is happening inside their brain.
You know, that first little lie, the one that usually pops up around age 3 or 4, well, it's actually a huge developmental milestone. It's proof of a sophisticated new ability that's going to shape their entire social world.
It means your kid has developed something called theory of mind. And to pull off a lie, they have to do some amazing mental gymnastics. First, they have to figure out what you're thinking. Then they have to realize that what you're thinking is different from what they know is true. And then they have to intentionally try to plant a totally false idea in your head. I mean, that's some complex stuff for a little kid.
And this skill, it develops fast. I mean, really fast. Research shows this huge shift between ages 2 and 4. At 2, most kids just spill the beans. By 4, the majority are gonna lie to cover their tracks. And get this, by 7, they're not just telling the lie, they're becoming master storytellers, coming up with follow-up details to make it all seem real.
But here's the thing, this whole impulse to deceive, it's not just a human thing. Nope, it's a fundamental strategy for survival all across the living world. It turns out, nature is the ultimate illusionist.
I mean, some animals use straight-up behavioral deception. Take the Killdeer bird. This bird puts on an Oscar-worthy performance, faking a broken wing and hobbling away from its nest, all to lure a predator away from its babies. It's brilliant.
Then you have the more sinister deceptions. Way down in the deep, dark ocean, the anglerfish uses its own body to tell a lie. It dangles this glowing lure in the pitch black, just baiting a trap for its next meal.
And it gets even more wild. The bee orchid has evolved to look and smell exactly like a female bee. So what happens? Hopeful male bees come along trying to mate with it and, oops, they end up pollinating the flower instead. Talk about a brilliant, if maybe a little cruel trick.
It's like the evolutionary biologist Robert Triver said, deception is just woven right into the fabric of life. It creates this endless evolutionary arms race, you know? The deceiver gets better at tricking, and the deceived gets better at spotting the trick.
Okay, so if deception is so natural, what's actually going on inside our heads when we do it? Well, it turns out telling a lie is surprisingly hard work for our brains.
See, a lie isn't just one action, it's two. First, your brain has to invent the new, false story. But at the exact same time, it has to actively push down the truth. The truth is kind of like our brain's default setting, right? It's the reality we already have on file. So a lie forces your brain to build a whole new reality while actively fighting the original one. That is incredibly demanding.
And that's why, when you look at brain scans, you see all this activity lighting up in the prefrontal cortex. That's your brain's big boss, the executive control center. It just goes into overdrive, handling all the planning, the problem solving, and the focus you need to pull off the deception. Bottom line, your brain has to work way harder to lie than to tell the truth.
And all that extra brain work, you can actually see it. In a controlled lab setting, scientists using fMRI scanners can spot the telltale signs of a lie with about 85% accuracy. Pretty cool, right?
But, and this is a big but, there's a huge catch. Real-world lies aren't like in the lab. They're high stakes, they're emotional, they're messy. And it turns out when people in these studies use really simple tricks, talking wiggling a toe or doing basic math in their head, the accuracy of these fancy MRI tests just plummets. We're talking down to 33%.
All right, so let's bring this all back to our daily lives. Deception is obviously a powerful tool, but it definitely comes with a social cost. We're all constantly trying to figure out this complex web of what's an okay lie and what's not.
You know, we navigate this world of socially acceptable lies all the time. We tell white lies to be polite, to spare someone's feelings. And in some cultures, people tell what are called blue lies. These are lies told not for yourself, but to protect your group, your team, your collective.
But what happens when lying isn't just about social grace anymore? What happens when it becomes a habit? Well, one study of young adults found that over 18%, that's almost 1 in 5, said they lied every single day.
And that habit, it has real consequences.
The very same study found that these daily liars reported a significantly lower quality of life, lower self-esteem, and even lower GPAs compared to their more honest friends. It seems like all those cognitive and social costs really do add up over time.
So all of this brings us to a much more complex, much more nuanced way of looking at truth and deception. It's clearly not as black and white as lying is always bad.
Let's recap what we've seen. A lie can be a sign of incredible cognitive growth in a child. Deception is a critical survival tool out in nature. It can even be a lubricant for social harmony. But we've also seen that when it becomes a habit, it can really be damaging to a person's well-being. Which really leaves us with this final, big question. If deception is so natural, so developmental, and sometimes even necessary, then what does honesty really mean? I mean, from the orchid that tricks the bee to the kid who denies eating the cookie, deception is just part of life. So maybe the real challenge isn't to get rid of all lies, maybe it's to master the complex and very human art of understanding when, why, and at what cost we choose to tell them.